Welcome to all the invisible guests from the invisible world sitting behind their screens. Would like to welcome you to the seminar of Riddle of Love. But before we start the seminar, would like to take this quote from Michelangelo. It's a very famous quote, but it very much sets the tone for the seminar today. And it is, the greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but that it is too low and we reach it. So we'll keep these words in our mind. As you will see how the seminar unfolds, these words are very pertinent. So today's seminar is on Riddle of Love. And your presenter is Rini Golecha. And why are we calling it a riddle? Firstly, to demystify the word riddle, it is not what we think is love, but what we think is not love, is love. And we will see how that unfolds. And also, what is the difference between clean love and ordinary love? That would be from a day-to-day perspective. And the third perspective that we will take is the scientific perspective, which is a balanced mind is a loving mind. So we will start with the 2 to 3 minutes of meditation. And take a moment and see if there are any sounds around you. Notice them passively and drop them. Now bring the attention more like a tapasya of determination and concentration. Easy effort. Bringing the attention to the being, the invisible being, the invisible observer behind the eyes. The deeper the concentration, the deeper the experience of the self. The mind may want to run in many different directions, but the invisible being, the observer, is completely focused on himself. He sees the world outside through the windows of his eyes. And speaks through the mouth. It is the invisible observer who needs to be awakened. When he's awake, the light of truth shines just by his presence of being awake. and the darkness is dispelled. Confusion and ignorance is dispelled. So keep the true self, the real self that each one of us is a living light. Make a determined effort to stay awake. At least to start with for the next 1 hour. Which starts with one step of a second. Second by second, the soul keeps itself awake. Om Shanti. One of the prime emotions, as we all know, in the living beings, animals, and everyone, is the word love. We all have this special place for the word love in our lives. And it is used in many different ways. Like we say, I love chocolate, or I love the company of this person, or I love going out on holidays. So we use this word love in many different ways. But to get the nuances of these different kinds of love and what they mean from spiritual point of view, we are going to go into the depth of it today. So there was this question that was asked in a large gathering, and if you all can type in your answer in the chat session as promptly as possible. The question that was asked is, if you had to give a grade to the quality of our relationships, what grade would you give out of 1 to 10? What do you think was the answer that they gave in that group out of 1 to 10? Any answers, Akshata?
Yes, we have an answer 5, 8, 5.
Okay, good. And actually in this gathering, the result was basically lower than 5, but not above 5. Nobody ever said 10. So what really it indicates is that we do have lots of ideas, and we have stories, and we have films on love. But really the problem is quite outrageous, given that there's so many things talking about love around us. And when there's a problem, is very simple, we have simple solutions, right? When the problem is medium, then we have a forceful solution for it. But when the problem is outrageous, we really have to have a radical solution for it. And that is where spiritual practice comes in handy. And we will go into the story. There's this very famous story in the books of psychology. And the title of the story is Displaced Love. And this is a story of Derek. This is the name of this person. And he has a dog. And dog is head over heels in love with Derek. So wherever Derek goes, dog goes. And so when Derek is sleeping in the room, dog is guarding the room to make sure that nobody disturbs Derek. When Derek is gone for groceries, then the dog will make sure he waits at the door for him to welcome him. And then if Derek goes for a walk. Absolutely, Doc goes with him. So it's like his life is all around Derek. But one time, Derek has to travel, and he can't take the dog with him when he's traveling. So now, this big emotion of love is now that he was experiencing for Derek is transferred to the shoe of Derek. Yeah. So whatever the shoe that was a favorite shoe of Derek, dog gets hold of it because he can't see Derek. And because he can't see Derek, he starts loving the shoe. He starts treating the shoe as Derek. So love at the physical level is actually displaced love. Does anyone recognize this phenomenon of displaced love? Would give you a further example. So when anybody would touch the shoe, the dog would bark. If anybody tried to take the shoe away, he would feel as though somebody's taking Derek away from him. So he would guard the shoe with his life. And so in this phenomenon, actually, we are treating something as though it's like somebody. And this phenomenon is far greater than we actually realize, and it appears. It's going to be a little bit more clearer to you as we go further. And so let's explore a little bit of the spiritual model. So the meaning of ego. The literal meaning of ego, word itself is not bad. The literal meaning of ego is I am. What you put in front of it is what makes it either impure ego or pure ego. So impure ego is when I say I am, in this case, Rini. The moment there's identification with the name or something temporary, it is impure ego. But pure ego is to identify with one's truth, to identify with the self as a soul. So during this seminar, you will hear that the word I is not used much because I is corrupted by the usage over many, many years. It is now kind of triggers the ego identity within us. So you will be hearing the word he, or invisible observer, or invisible traveler, or a guest. It is for the soul that we are using for the true self. The true self is very different from this ego-based identity. So there are many angles and aspects to ego. So when we first come down from the supreme dimension and we enter this physical world, the soul, we are talking about the soul that we are, we enter into this physical dimension, and first thing we encounter is the shoe or the body. We are not in any way deprecating or kind of making the importance of body any less. But what we are saying is it's a very useful tool as long as it's remembered, it's a tool to be used by the soul. So when we first come in, we have a feeling when the soul remembers who he is, the invisible observer, then he knows that everything around him is a gift. It's nice. Everything is nice. He appreciates everything. He respects his surroundings. He enjoys everything. That he is us, enjoys everything. He uses everything, but he does not need anything. So he uses a chair, but he doesn't become desperate about the chair or creates an identity about the chair. So we'll see, but what happens as time goes by, this invisible observer starts to become familiar. Familiarity starts to come in, and he becomes familiar with everything. There is forgetfulness, and soon he forgets who he is. So he starts liking everything very much. That's how it starts. Oh, I like it very much. And then he wants it very much. That like turns into want it very much. And then he says, this is mine. Now this want turns into this is mine. And then this mine turns into this is I. So the soul, the invisible observer, who was completely awake and alert, knowing that he's coming here to enjoy everything, nothing wrong with taking the car or driving around a little bit in this car of the body, or doing some sightseeing, or having other cars around him, nothing wrong with it. But to know that it is the driver and not the car that is the real friend, that is what is very important. But in time, what happens as time goes by, the only expression of love, caring, becomes clinging to the shoe, caring for the shoe. Things which were meant to be beautiful gifts have now become a bondage and a cause for sorrow. Everything here has become a cause for sorrow. And so we see that unconscious state is that the soul is now. Soul is in this unconscious state. And unconscious state, you can think of it as ignorance. So ignorance is like a deep sleep in which you dream you are still awake. So yes, because let's say the name of this body is Susan. So Susan is the one who thinks is awake, because the body is moving, the body is talking, the body is walking. So the Susan thinks it is awake. But Susan can't see the dear friend, the soul that is in each one of us is the real being. Can't see the real being. Susan thinks this is Susan. But you see the eyes, you see the nose, you see the ears, you see the brand of the body, but we are not seeing the real person. So all our songs are directed towards the shoe. I love you, shoe. And in confusion, there is possessiveness. We become possessive. The soul becomes possessive because it's forgotten its eternal identification. So now, because it thinks it's a mortal being, so it becomes possessive. And everybody is different at the level of physical body. Sameness exists only at the level of the soul. There will be difference at physical level, and then competition starts, comparison starts, and there is jealousy, envy, there is fear of rejection because you think, I am this body. So there is fear of rejection. So So what's wrong with loving the shoe? Somebody asked that. So what's wrong with loving the shoe? We know that this car or the shoe, the body is not eternal. And what does the word end creates in our mind? The word end makes us feel insecure. And the moment we get into this mode of I am my body, it's like a quicksand. The soul who's forgotten he's a soul, an invisible experiencer, starts to feel this pull of insecurity. And as a result, now it's looking for help from outside, for others to protect him from this insecurity. But guess what? Even others are in a quicksand. So they too are looking for someone to help them pull them out of these insecurities. And as a result, today, whether conscious or not conscious, there is a subconscious panic in each and every soul about insecurity. And what happens to the love? Love becomes conditional. It is like the displaced love, dog loving the shoe instead of Derek. So it's like the Derek here is the dog is the example of our body conscious attitude, and Derek is the example of the soul. So the shoe instead of Derek starts being loved. And this love is very fickle, very dependent. It depends on the presence of the other shoe or how this shoe treats my shoe. It totally depends on that. And it's like in the name of we are taking care of each other, we are beginning to really use people to feel secure and love things. Whereas it should be love people and use things, we are using people and loving things. We are using people just to feel secure. So when is love, interaction, or relationship clean? By coming back to the real object of our love. We have to come back to the soul, to Derek, right? You are seeing the real being. You know the immense greatness of the real being. For that, first we have to wear the right glasses of spiritual knowledge. And that soul has to wake up to discover his own truth. The soul's truth is not this identity of Susan. The soul's truth is this identity that comes from home. The real self existed even before the personality of Susan took shape. This real self was always there as a being that is forever a being of peace, love, and always complete and perfect. And this being is now in this body of Susan. And Susan does not define the soul. And the soul is the one who's using Susan. So if soul is awake, it can use its qualities through this puppet. But if the soul is asleep, then there is another force which we call the force of Maya and Ravan, which is what uses this puppet. So there are two forces using the puppet. And this Rini is also kind of a puppet, right? And the real being behind this mask is the one who is speaking, connected with the supreme abode, with the supreme home. One can choose to be asleep and then Rini can be talking and Rini can be giving the seminar. But no, it is the soul behind this mask that is speaking, and that awareness will itself bring the qualities of the soul into action. So the spiritual model is that we exist as spiritual beings of light. This is the seed world. That is us, the tiny points of light. His world is complete and he needs nothing from this story world. Completely free of any desires in the story world. Right now we are listening, we are talking. It would be a good moment to check who is talking, who is listening. Is it the being of light from the home of supreme peace, talking and listening? The unearthly being, the royal heir, the innocent being, the timeless being. Is that the being talking, listening? A good time to check, otherwise come back to the awake state. Soul will exist forever, even if Rini is there or not, or even if Susan is there or not. The soul that I am will exist forever without this shoe. So amongst us, there is eternal bond here and connection of immense brotherhood and friendship. We all have this immense bond at the level of the seed world. What are the thoughts from spiritual love? Highest dimension has to be seen first for that. There are two conditions that the soul can exist in. One is the awake condition and one is the asleep condition. And as a part of this true eternal family, the awake one will see himself forever secure and forever flawless. Doesn't matter what their role may be, but the soul that is awake will see itself forever godlike, lovelier than lovely, sweeter than the sweetest, childlike, being of light. And that will never be forgotten for the awake soul. And even if it is forgotten, one can come back to this awareness in a second. This is what generates loving feeling for all, that all are lucky at this level. Nobody, no soul is unlucky at this level. All that is needed is to keep the drama at a distance and experience the world of silence, silent bliss. We have to merge, the soul has to merge the drama and emerge home. Soul has been longing to go back home for a long period of time. And because it has forgotten its home, it is now thinking of this drama as his home. Down below, yes, there is a toy story. So right now, even as we are listening and speaking, see the self in the home. And from there, you're looking at this seminar also as part of this toy story. This is also part of the toy story. And there's a world of puppets. And their external existence is not in that toy world. Their eternal existence is beyond this sky. Their eternal existence is in the world of peace and love. But they are actually here in this drama playing many different roles. They are acting out, some of them are acting out as a dragon, some are acting as a King Kong, some may be acting as a villain. It doesn't matter what role they are playing. But if you know that the truth of everyone, they are harmless, egoless, sorrowless, viceless, knowledgeable, behind no matter what act they are playing, then you are out of the mess which a sleep soul can create by just going to sleep thinking this is the real world. There are two different realities that we have seen what happens when the soul has, and we will see why soul falls asleep. Because what happens when the soul has been in this physical world over some time, the soul forgets and he starts loving his own body and say, oh, wow, nice body. I've got a nice body. This is what I want. My body is in. And now it tries to make it immortal. It tries to make the body immortal. And then otherwise it starts to love others' bodies, which turns into lust and attachment. Or otherwise it will start to find that mastery that it had in the home, the master of its own mind in the home, it tries to find that mastery in the world of physical matter and tries to rule over matter by losing its own identity. So it becomes a slave instead of being a master. And all the eternal treasures that the soul was experiencing in the home are now actually thinking I'm my body. The soul starts looking for these eternal treasures in the form of greed, in the form of things, money, everything. It starts to turn into greed. That's what happens once the soul has been in the physical world over a period of some time. So there are many divine eternal relationships that we have here as souls. And then we go into the drama and then we say, oh, this is my cousin, this is my auntie, this is my uncle, and this one is no one of me. But that's not the truth. All the souls belong to each other. All we have to do is switch our awareness to the soul world, to the home of the real beings that we are. Because nature says, if we don't do that, nature will do for us. Nature says, why are you in sickness? Because nature wants to preserve our original stage. That is why we have to destroy attachment. Attachment, we will see how, but our eternal relationships are invisible. That is very important to remember. Our eternal relationships are invisible. And how laws of nature teach us to detach? Because if we don't detach from this personality, then nature will come and help us detach. It could be a painful way, or it could be a way of wisdom we choose. So we'll give an example of it. The family, this one has heard this story from someone. about this family where the husband and wife are doctors, both of them. And the husband is a very famous surgeon. And he's written many books and many things. He's very popular. So the wife, whenever she meets somebody, she always introduces herself as I'm a wife of so and so, and totally identified by husband's profession and reputation. And they, at physical level, they have attachment, a lot of attachment with each other. What do you think happened for nature to tell them that they need to get back to their original state of being detached from each other? Just a one-word answer. They actually got separated. And when they were asked, they said they still have respect for each other, but somehow they were not. By laws of nature, they were kept apart. Or something else could have happened. But if we don't learn to detach ourselves, laws of nature will teach us in some way or the other. So attachment or wrong identity is like a cancer in the soul, and it has to be removed from the seed. And the priority is not doing some cosmetic improvements or remove it little by little, but all at once attachment has to be removed. And we will see how. We have to water the seed with attention. It is not just enough to know I am a soul, or not enough to know about the soul, but a Lokik dimension, the home, has to become normal whilst being in the drama. Immortality is not a concept, but a reality. That is when the soul starts to feel innate security. Because until this home starts to feel like home, the soul does not want to come out of the home. Soul wants to stay in the home. And then once it's doing its work here, even now check once again, where are you? Are you in the home, or are you caught up in the world around you? You can be there and still listen, and you will be receiving better. So we have to check again and again our awake state. So the home, and when we start feeling this as home, then truly the world starts feel like a film or a stage or a playground. That's what it starts to feel like. We'll give an example of an actress, a story, famous story, but later if we have more time. That is why detachment comes before love. Because without detachment, love cannot be present. It will be like we were saying in the beginning, we will be using people and loving things until then. So we need to see the truth in a big way and drama as small. Tiny stars have a supreme reality. That is the truth of all of us. This is us, this is our home, and this is our reality. And we, from here, when we see, we also see there's an extraordinary drama, a circus, a soap opera. It's like an example I would like to give of gold dust and cake. Gold dust is very precious, and so is the cake. If you mix the two, you can't enjoy either. But if you separate the two, then you can enjoy the gold dust and the treasure of the gold dust, and you can enjoy the sweetness of the cake. So similarly, when the soul is awake to his supreme reality and supreme home, then this truly feels like a circus. So even when you're entering a theater, playing a part, you never forget the eternal truth and the beautiful reality beyond. This is the reality we cannot forget. That is when one does not take sorrow and give sorrow in the drama. And we see the story as a story and thus free from bondage of the theater. Would like to kind of also very briefly mention an example of one's personal story here. And it is a story, you can see it as a story in this theater where Rini is playing the role of a mother, and there is a daughter playing, a soul playing a role of a daughter. And daughter had internship and really wanted to kind of really get that internship. And there were 200 applicants and some 10 were going to be selected out of that. So what happened was the soul was expressing its desire of wanting it and how much it really wanted it. But here, because one is practicing being awake, is not paying attention to the script of its desires, but it's looking at the eternal truth of that soul being already complete, being already successful. Not success in the drama, in the home. The soul is already got the godly treasures. The soul is already loved by God. Accomplishments at the level of drama will not determine this soul's identity. So that thought was held, and it was not getting caught up in its desires. Otherwise, sometimes if we are asleep, we can think it's positive to wish her well and let her hope she gets what she wants. And we start thinking that is positive. That is not positive. That is actually quite negative. Real positivity is to see the eternal truth of that soul beyond any accomplishments, beyond any desires in the drama. That soul may be expressing, but that is not its identity. And what happened is that the result came out and daughter did not get the internship. So it was nice to see that there was no sorrow taken from not getting that internship even by daughter. And she seemed fine, and she was like, it's fine if I didn't get it, something else must be in store for me. It's okay if somebody else got it, very happy for them. And it was surprising because we didn't talk much, we didn't discuss the topic too much, nothing, just this thought was held. Then after 2 months, the news came and somebody dropped out and she got the internship, which was, again, it did not bring any happiness either. So we are neither taking happiness nor are we taking sorrow from the drama at any level. The soul's happiness only and only comes from being in the home, only from eternal treasures, only from its perfection, only from its nobility. That is the real being. And it is just a story. In story, awake one will neither take sorrow and nor happiness from the story. No one really dies or fails or succeeds in this story. It's a story being acted out. Actors are invisible, immortal stars. So it's very important to remember that, to check at any point, is happiness or sorrow being taken from the story? Then I could be saying I'm a soul, but I'm not really awake. I need to work on complete awakened state. Because in confusion, the soul can start thinking, oh, I am this actor. I am Cinderella. Eclipse of the soul takes place. And if you have any desires in this world of dolls, if it can bother you or disturb you or keep you away from the dimension of home, from soul world, drama has become big for you. So how do we overcome all attachments? What is attachment? Firstly, we think we are attached to people and we are attached to things. That is not true. Attachment means, what is my mind thinking about? I could be looking at this clock and thinking about this clock. Then in this moment, the attachment is with the clock. The yoga is with the clock. The yoga is with the time. So attachment is about what is my mind occupied with That is what I'm attached to in that moment. Not to people, possessions. Why are we thinking about the people who are around us? That is why we are thinking more about them and we think we are attached to them. No, we are not attached to them. The soul is attached to the thoughts of thinking about them. And that is what we really need to kind of differentiate. And only then we can overcome all our attachments. And we are now looking at the scientific point of view. Why is this the only way? Is complete detachment from one's character, in my case, Winnie, and the whole drama. Why to make drama small? The paradox of detachment and love, we will discover it more, because brain is the closest instrument that the soul uses. So it gives us insight into the soul and also true love. When in our lives are we naturally balanced? We are talking about waking active hours for an ordinary person. If you don't mind promptly writing the answer in the chat session. When in our lives are we naturally balanced in our waking active hours? Any answers, sister?
Early morning, when we are soul conscious. Second answer is that.
Yeah, for an ordinary person. Not when we are meditating or anything like that, just for an ordinary person. When are we naturally balanced?
When our mind feels free.
Very good. During play. We are naturally balanced when we are in a play. There is lightness in play. When we see children, the natural inclination of children is everything is play for them. They see everyone, even everyone, as their potential player. And it's all happening at the level of the soul. Soul controls the brain. I want to re-emphasize that soul controls the brain. Brain is like the hardware. So this is a beautiful thing that happens in human beings. Part of you takes one position and another part of you takes another position. So strong right brain actually enables the left brain functions to be used effectively. And this is what we call play. So when we use two wings, we can fly, right? So there are like feelings and attitudes from the right brain. We see it's not just that it's just a game. It doesn't matter. We can accept victory and defeat when the right brain is active. So you're working hard, you're going into details, but at the same time, you're holding that space of it being a game. So you can see the bigger picture, most important, where the right brain is being used by the soul. The bigger picture is very clear for the one because, and as a result, will not take anything too seriously in the drama. Loving feelings will emerge naturally. But if it's not done, then we call it work when left brain is too active or overactive like today it is. So we give an example to understand it better. What are you seeing over here? A 2-meter broad pavement. Now ask yourself, the precondition is that you can't go on the grass and there is no railing. So you can ride, you can walk, you can run, you can do anything, but you can't go on the grass. You have got the skills, so you just do it, right? Now, we see the same pavement at the top connecting two mountains. How about now running along the same track without railings at 500 meters altitude? We probably may not even want to crawl, let alone walk or run. And why? Because the left brain says it's not fun. And the moment you are told it's serious, your right brain gets paralyzed. and your left wing can't be used either for its skills. There's a beautiful example of a player who reached the finals of Wimbledon and whose every serve was hitting the net. He was asked afterwards that how did he make it to the finals? And he said all along, until he got to the finals, he knew it as a game. It was fun. There was spirit of play. An awake brain was relaxed and could use the left brain skills. The right brain could use the left brain skills till then, and he could perform with excellence. But now he reaches finals, and suddenly he says, this is serious. There is no right wing now. He's got the skills of left wing, but he could not use the left wing. Something similar is happening to all of us at many different levels. So how can we be serious and not serious at the same time? What is the difference between game and work? So we are going to see the right brain, the right wing and the left wing, right? The right wing will see life, as we said, as a game, and the reality beyond the drama will be very, very visible and clear. He finds he's the one who will have higher goals, actually, the one who's using the right wing more. And he's the one who will use his skills and work hard. He knows how to lose and how to fall and how to start again. And he participates with enthusiasm. The one with the left wing active will say, we should not do this because we might fall, or better not meet this person because I might just get rejected. And to even go deeper into the understanding of it is, let's say there's a game you are going to play with a friend, and you know that you're going to play that game, but that game gets cancelled. But you are okay with that game being cancelled because you know that there is family and home back there and you can go back home. So the game gets cancelled, that's fine. Your life doesn't stop. But when he goes to play the game, he goes with that lightness of that being an extra game. And he goes with that lightness. And when he goes with that lightness, he plays to win. He doesn't play to lose. He plays to win. So when we are using when the soul is using both the wings, he's playing the game and playing it better than the ones who do not want to play the game for the fear of losing. We are playing the game, but with the energy and enthusiasm of fun. And to win, we will play the game. And we will cooperate with the whole team to play and win for the whole team. So work, everything is serious. But in a game, you're using this paradox. This is the paradox of detachment and love. Detachment and love together. When we detach, everything is extra. And when everything is extra, then there can be true love that emerges because your identity and your desires are not based upon it. Both the wings are used. So displaced love, as we saw in the beginning between the dog and the Derek, makes our relationships with drama imbalanced. The mind of Paras, which we call the divine intellect, the spiritual side makes this drama small and a playground. And abode of silence is immense in the mind that is using the Paras intellect. So even right now, we are checking again and again. Check, are you using Paras intellect or are you using stone or Patthar intellect? Because for Patthar intellect, home, supreme, family, and eternal treasures are all forgotten. They are all small. The story has become serious and is everything. So the true love is loving that always exists. When we love something that is temporary, it creates fear and insecurity. And displaced love makes one handicapped at all levels, emotionally, intellectually, possibly physically. But emotionally, We don't know the scale of super sensuous experiences and love based on truth. We only know the experiences and the temporary pleasures if we are caught up in this drama, from the drama. And we've forgotten the experience of the angel, and so we look for it in the physical world. Today, the soul is unconscious, and that is where we have the Sanjeevani of knowledge. Intellectually, we do not know the bigger map. We get caught up in Ravan's madness, in the madness of vices. So when we drown into the honey pot, neither do we enjoy the honey, nor can we fly. But when we come out of the honey pot, even 1 minute in the drama means 1 minute less in the sky, in celestial celebration. So we want to be out of the drama whilst doing everything in the sweet home that we have. And how do we do that? We will look into this beautiful parallel in ancient Greek mathematics. The symbol of harmony is this equidistant triangle. And it's believed that A is alpha in this ancient Greek mathematics, B is the being, and C is the cycle of life, the ceaseless flow of events that go on forever and the circumstances. And we will see how the Supreme Soul, here we would like to introduce the connection with the Supreme Soul, who is the most balanced mind, most detached and most loving mind. He never mixes the drama with eternal truth. Reality exists, eternal reality exists for him always 100%. He's always in clarity and innocent. Innocent, why? Because he knows the eternal reality. He does not judge the soul based on the drama. He's not looking at Rini. He's looking at the soul that is using this character, that is playing this character. His love is for the soul. His love is not for Rini in this case over here. So only in a bodiless and egoless state, we plug into his frequency. We can't plug into the frequency of Supreme Soul until we get out of this identity and go straight to the identity of being like God. The being like God is like God. There are no two ways about it. Only the soul can become soul conscious. Rini cannot become soul conscious. Soul can become soul conscious, is already soul conscious. It just has to awaken to that truth. Because if we don't do that, and let's say the being is asleep, then the being will go to the drama, trying to find love and harmony. But here also, everybody's trying to find love and harmony. So there is disharmony in society today. But when the being awakens, that very second, the being is with the Supreme Father. And when the being is with the Supreme Father, and then in that awake state, he comes to the drama. Then what happens? There is miracle that happens, which we will see how that happens. So the being who is connected with drama, connected with God, the Supreme Being, his perspective, Supreme Being's perspective teaches supreme love. When the soul aligns its thinking with God. So the being who is awake even now, what does God see? How's God seeing this whole thing playing out right now from up above? How's God seeing it? He's always seeing the big picture. He sees no reason for sorrow in the drama. He sees beautiful truth behind the story and beyond the story. What does God know is what the awakened being will know. God knows the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story. What does God experience? God experiences the soul, the eternal ignited lamps just like him. What does God think? That these are my children, the King of Kings. These are the children of the King of Kings, and why are they, and how they are beautifully performing their part of being beggars in the story. He's not judging at any moment. He's very aware of the clarity between the story and the reality, the two different realities that exist. And what is God's task? His task is to ignite others, to remind others of their supreme reality, beautiful, eternal truth beyond drama. And that is why when we have a connection, the soul has a connection, the awakened soul has a connection or yoga with the supreme, which means that the soul first has to have yoga and connection with its own perfect self. Only then can it connect with the supreme. In its perfect self, now soul connects with the supreme's perfection and the perfection of the home and the perfection of all the souls in the home. So it's perfection all around for the awakened one, even if it's just for a minute. Do go in that moment of perfection for a minute also. And this is why when Supreme comes, he says, Alokik is the world. He knows that there may be war. He's seeing there may be war, there may be death, there may be disease. Does he take sorrow from it? No. So the awakened one with him will not take sorrow from it or happiness from it. But he knows it does not affect the eternal immortality of his star children. He knows that my children have their alokik world. He knows that my children are always safe. He knows and he says that my children will continue to exist even if this puppet dies. So the silent observer, the silent witness, love is uniform and does not change depending on who is in front. That your love will be different for your neighbor, for the son or for daughter or for friend, or there is no such thing for the awakened one. There is supreme love that encompasses all souls. Most important feeling for the awakened soul is to experience life beyond this play. Nothing and no challenge here can change the reality of the eternal being. Anything can happen to Rini. People can insult Rini, people can say things to Rini, and Rini may even get hurt. But if the awakened soul is looking at that hurt and changing it immediately, then that awakened one is me. This is just a character with its own script. It is the real me, is that perfect being. The real you is that perfect being as God sees that being of light. So there's a beautiful example of astronauts. And astronauts, when they went above, they went on the moon, they were first looking for their home and they were looking for their country. And soon after they said, you know what, it's also insignificant. All we see is a tiny ball with the mass of land and water all around it. So astronauts so what happens when we are here, the soul is in the home. Right now also the two stars, Supreme Soul and the real self is in the home watching this presentation being done here. And from that perspective of eternity, when the soul is looking, this is a 5-minute game or a 5,000-year-old game. It doesn't matter. It is very insignificant in that sense. So more you're soul conscious, whatever you're doing is right in the drama. So this is how souls imbibe attitude of spiritual love. Love naturally emerges as truth sets you free from insecurities and fears and bondages. So the balanced mind will take the challenge and make this world the best world for everyone. And the imbalanced mind, it will say, let's not do this, just sit near the fire and stay warm. So because they don't want to fail. They Failure is something unacceptable. But here, what we learn is that every moment one learns from the failure, it is a success. So, only when something becomes extra, it becomes a game naturally. So, for the awakened being, this is a game. This is just a game. Now, the spirit of play comes when that being comes here as an extra gift. And there's harmony in paradox. It will display love automatically. So we are emphasizing that we are not fleeing the physical world, but to adopt an accurate attitude when we are in the drama. Our attitude and relationship with the drama has become wrong. So now we go back home to put basics of our identity right. For that, the soul needs to step outside of the story. So proof of true spirituality is that you are playing a game and you are also playing to win over vices. There's a beautiful story of a man who was holding on to buffalo's tail, and he was getting dragged through the muddy paddy fields. He was getting scratched, bleeding, getting covered in the mud. And he kept telling the buffalo, "Can you please stop? Can you please stop? I'm getting hurt." So then a voice comes and tells him, all you have to do is let go of the tail. And then you can see the drama detached and enjoy every scene of the drama. You can win the sky and you can win the earth. You can win both. Otherwise, you lose both. So that's where when Supreme Being, the Supreme Soul comes, he does not come to change the drama. He comes to change the consciousness. God comes to protect the soul from sinful actions, not from thieves and diseases. He teaches elevated karma, and then with that, we change our destiny. So God, who we call Baba, he actually teaches us elevated karma through supreme knowledge. And with that knowledge, we create elevated actions in right consciousness. And with that, we create a new world. As we saw in the beginning, deception is radical. The world of Maya and Ravan, deception is radical. So truth also feels radical. So what is the experience of truth? What is the proof that one is experiencing the truth? Truth will free you from sorrow and confusion. God himself comes, the ocean of truth. He is the ocean of truth. When he comes, he establishes the age of truth in the midst of Ravan's kingdom. Right? So if our inner positioning, if the soul's inner positioning is of divinity, then drama itself gives you golden age. But if the inner alignment is of Ravan, devilish alignment we have, then drama gives you hell. So internal factors invite our external circumstances and our external reality. So nature wants to serve us. Drama wants to see us in our highest state. Best bodily relationships also, and it wants to give us the best. But for that, we have to have the best intellect that we use connecting with the Supreme, and we connect with our Supreme abode, and we bring golden age or the age of truth on this very planet. So this would be the end of the seminar. At this point, we will take a moment of silence and go into the experience of what we have just learned. Probably we are hearing this and we want to make sure that we are going into the experience of it at the same time. So we will take a moment, and in this moment, within a second, see the self in one's true home. The awakened being of light. He does not need to remember God. He lives with God. His life is in the supreme reality. He's detached from the character he has been given and detached from the story. The invisible prince, child of the King of Kings. From this space of silence, he can see the scenes of variety, drama. Somewhere there could be party going on. Somewhere there could be a play going on. Somebody could be screaming or dancing. He's detached from the story completely. His life is with the Supreme Brother Souls and the Supreme Father. His life is life of a celestial dance. He needs nothing from the drama. He's free and liberated forever. It's a doll show for him down there. And there are many 8 billion dolls down there. But his real relationship is with the living, pulsating beings of light. From this space of being that invisible incarnate, invisible silver of the Supreme, the invisible royal alaukic prince. He incarnates into the circus. And help awaken other brother souls to their truth, shine light on their truth, and help them come out of darkness so that together God's dream can come true of creating heaven on earth. Om Shanti. BRAHMAKUMARIS Silicon Valley Center is actually led by Kusumben. She's the director of the center, and she has been dedicated to this knowledge since childhood and has dedicated her life to God's service. So it would be nice, center has opened and everybody can start going to the center. I think there is a limit on the number of people who can go to the center. So you can connect with Kusumben and find out if you can get a chance to go to the center. And there are 200 regular students who attend Murli. Murli is God's elevated versions. And all this knowledge in so many different seminars that you're hearing is coming from that Murli. And next is BRAHMAKUMARIS World Spiritual Organization is a non-profit organization. It was founded in 1937. And there are over 1 million members practicing it worldwide. These are the upcoming events. And you can see there is a Raja Yoga meditation course in November. And also 21 days goal to heal thyself daily. So there's a lot of sustenance that is being provided if you're willing to be sustained. And there's a webinar on Saturday on Think Right and Be Right and Spread the Light by Dr. Savita from Mount Abu. She's a very senior sister. And also every Sunday there are living values classes and vitamins for smart parenting. At this point, if anybody has any questions, would be more than happy to answer those questions.